leave the word to you this morning. If any of you are around when I have to meet my day, I don't want a long funeral. And if you get somebody to deliver the eulogy, tell them not to talk too long. And every now and then I wonder what I want them to say. Tell them not to mention that I have a Nobel Peace Prize. That isn't important. Tell them not to mention that I have 300 or 400 other awards. That's not important. Tell them not to mention where I went to school. I'd like somebody to mention that day that Martin Luther King Jr. tried to give his life serving others. I'd like for somebody to say that day that Martin Luther King Jr. tried to love somebody, that I tried to be right on the war question, that I tried to feed the hungry, that I tried to clothe those who were naked, that I tried to visit those who were in prison, that I tried to love and serve humanity. Yes, if you want to say that I was a drum major, say that I was a drum major for justice. Say that I was a drum major for peace. Say that I was a drum major for righteousness. And all the other shallow things will not matter. I won't have any money to leave behind. I won't have the fine and luxurious things of life to leave behind. But I just want to leave a committed life behind. And so this message of leaving behind a committed life rings true for Phil and I. Not because we're inner city ministers, not because we live and work amongst the poor, but because we simply landed our boats and we said yes to whatever Calcutta God would send us to, as Mother Teresa would say. So for the thousands upon thousands of followers of Jesus who are willing to lay down their lives daily for the sake of God's kingdom, you do it not for an invitation to sit at the right or the left of Jesus. You do it not for an invitation to speak at John Brown University, as prestigious as this is. You do it not to be the next student speaker at the gathering on Sunday nights, but you do it because of one word found in verse 14 of our passage this morning: compassion. Compassion. So what is compassion? What is compassion? 2 words: com, pati. Com meaning with, and pati meaning to feel or to suffer. So I literally get to join with you and suffer with you and feel the pain that you feel. It's a deep awareness of the suffering of another, coupled with the desire to relieve that suffering. So it's going to Siloam Springs Nursing Home with Josh to hang out with Marvin and Lucy to relieve their moments of loneliness. It's being committed to CSO, Community Service Outreach, and partnering with Lou to help fix random things around the community, to help build ramps and to build relationships in the community. And compassion is the reason why we are so involved in our city and in our neighborhood. There's a young couple that we are really close to in our neighborhood, and we'll just call them Sherry and Javier for the sake of keeping their identity secure. But Sherry is an 18-year-old young lady, and Javier is 16 years old. And they have a 1.5-year-old daughter. Yes, she's 18, he's 16, and they have a 1.5-year-old daughter. When Sherry found out that she was pregnant with this baby, it was October 3rd, my husband's birthday, that she came over to tell us. Guess what, guys? Before she even went home and talked to her mom, she came to our house and said, I don't know what to do. I'm pregnant. I have to drop out of school. I have to give up my dreams of becoming a nurse. I have to, life literally has ended for me. What do I do? And so after some time of just praying with her and spending time with her and letting her know that we're committed to her and this baby, she decided to keep the baby, which was an amazing thing in our neighborhood. It's an amazing thing that she decided to keep the baby and do her best to raise this baby. And long story short, she decided to, after dropping out of school, she decided to re-enroll in school, and she knows that it's going to take her another 1.5 to 2 years to graduate from high school, so she'll literally be 20 before she graduates from high school. A lot of you all are 20, and you're like in your first or second year of college already, but Sherry will be 20 by the time she graduates from high school, but she's committed to getting her diploma and not just becoming a statistic and staying out of school. She's trying to figure out how to do a nursing program in our city. There's a college where you're able to finish your high school education and take some nursing courses at the same time. So she's trying to figure that out. She just recently, on October 22nd, one of the happiest days in my life, she gave her life to the Lord. She didn't have all the pretty Christian lingo for it. She didn't have the words to say, but she just said in her boyfriend's room at night, she said, God, I can't do this by myself anymore. I want to be your daughter. Whatever that means, whatever that looks like, I believe that you have a plan for my life, and I want to live for you, God. And so on that night, October 22nd, she gave her heart to the Lord, and her boyfriend, Javier, at the time, started noticing a change in her life. And because of that change, he got a little jealous. He got a little angry and upset. She was spending more time with God and more time in the Word and more time in prayer than she was spending with him. So time after time, he would hey, let's hang out. Let's go somewhere. Let's do this. And her answer would be, no, I want to spend time with my Father. I want to spend time with my Heavenly Father. And so he became angry, and he began to abuse her, not just verbally, but physically. And she would run to our house in the middle of the night. Rici, Phil, help, get me away from him. Get me away from him. And so Phil would do something pretty strategic and, come on, Javier, come on over. Let's spend some time together. But more importantly than that, let's talk about your anger issues. Let's talk about why it is that you've never had an example of how to resolve conflict with words as opposed to with your fists. Let's talk about this. Let's get you out of the neighborhood for a day. Come to work with me for a day, and let's just spend some time talking. And so they do that from time to time. And just recently, Javier, after a fight, a big fight with his girlfriend, Sherry, he runs to her mom's house to find her, to try to resolve this conflict again. And finally, she said, I've had enough. I'm done. You can see your child, but outside of that, I'm done. I don't want to have anything to do with you anymore. I want to live my life for God. I want to be a better person. I'm done. And so I get a phone call, Javier saying, Rici, how do I live a life for God too? I don't want to do this by myself either. I hate the way that I treat Sherry. I don't like fussing and fighting with her and putting my hands on her. That's the only example that I've had as to how to resolve conflict. Something that you should know about Javier is he's in a home where the oldest sibling is a Bulldog gang member, and therefore he feels like, well, that's the only way to get respect, so I have to become a Bulldog gang member too. The brother right under the oldest, his name is Derek, but from the age of 11 until now, he's 19, he's been living his life as a girl, as a transgender girl. And when you talk to him, you say, what happened? And then you find out that at the age of 6, he was molested by an uncle, and he has no other way of figuring out how to live life. And so he prances around town in really nice outfits, in really, really cute outfits, but just so confused about what it means to be a man because something was stolen from him as a 6-year-old little boy. So this is the context that Javier is born and raised in. And so he has no other clue as to how to live life. He has no other clue. And so finally the day he called and he said, I'm tired. I can't do this by myself anymore. I want to live my life for God. Not just because Sherry gave her life to God, but because I know that he's going to make a difference in my life. So right there over the phone, I began to explain to him what it means to live a life for God and what it means to follow Jesus. And we're still having these conversations. But that's just an example of two precious, precious, precious lives that we've had an opportunity to come alongside and walk with and feel their pain, feel their suffering, feel the abuse, feel the neglect, feel the financial hardships that they face. And so we're so thankful to God that we've decided to land our boat in our community and help restore what's been messed up and help help fix what's been broken, and to really just pray for God's transformative power over the lives of everybody in that neighborhood.
And so you might wonder what would call us, or what would cause us to move into a community in an inner city whereby people are prostituting themselves on a daily basis, into a community that was historically known as the Devil's Triangle, into a community whereby there is such brokenness. Well, it is one word, and that is compassion. You know, there's a withness that comes with compassion that sets it apart from sympathy. You know, sympathy says, I feel bad for you. But there's nothing inside of me that is compelling me to respond to my bad feelings. I just feel bad for you. That's sympathy. Compassion, there's a withness about compassion. And I think compassion is part and parcel to the expression of God's love. It is the reason that God sends his son Jesus to be with us. Emmanuel, God with us. And then leaves us and sends his Holy Spirit to continue to be with us. So that even now he is with us. Everywhere that we are, in the dorms, in the cafeteria, on the field, in Siloam Springs, in Tulsa, in Manila with Father Ben Biltran, who was seeking the well-being of thousands of people who grew up in a garbage community there in the Philippines, outside of Manila in the hills. He's with Saul Cruz in Mexico City, in the hills of Mexico City, where people are living in shanties and living amongst their own trash. He was with Mother Teresa when she was alive in Calcutta, and he was with Dr. King in Montgomery the morning in which he was preparing to deliver an annual report of his first year as the pastor of the Dexter Avenue Baptist Church, where he was going to cast some vision for the coming years about the ways in which he was going to lead this congregation to be the best Baptist church in all of Montgomery, Alabama. But E.D. Nixon and Ralph Abernathy called together a meeting, and they said, Dr. King, will you lead? We're just going to do a one-day bus boycott. Would you lead it? He said, no way. Not going to do it. I'm preparing for this annual address, and I am going to put my stake in the ground and let the folks know what a great pastor they have invited in to lead this congregation. They said, fine. If you aren't going to lead it, will you at least host the meeting? He said, well, that's the least I can do for my new friends, Dr. Abernathy and you, Mr. Nixon. And so they held the meeting there at his church, and Dr. King, of course, attended the church because he was hosting. And when it came time, after they had discussed strategy and timing and how they were going to initiate this boycott, came time to determine a leader for the Montgomery Improvement Association. And so they looked around the table and they said, well, folks, we've got a strategy and we know when we're going to initiate this. We've got it all figured out. We just need someone to lead this thing. Abernathy, you got any ideas as to who ought to lead this thing? Well, I don't know. I can't do it. You know, Nixon, what about you? Can you do it? No, I can't do it. Dr. King, since you were gracious enough to host us in your own church building for this meeting, would you consider hosting us? All in favor? Say aye. Aye. And that's how Dr. King became the president of the Montgomery Improvement Association and began what he thought was a one-day bus boycott, turned into a one-year boycott that gained national attention and was the catalytic event to start a national civil rights movement. Many folks don't know that. Compassion. Compassion is why in our